Hi, and welcome to Cosmic Connections. Today, I am talking to Rob. He is going to be talking to me about his lecture at the Fractal Cosmos conference. He is diving into the heart of vibrational astrology, and we're going to be talking about also his astrology practice, his work as a teacher, and a visionary behind his website, Deep Earth Astrology. So you can go there by deepearthastrology.com. So I'm excited to talk to you, Rob. Thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
Great, and thank you for having me. I love your videos, and it's an honor.
Wonderful. That's great. So before we dig into the conference and before we dig into the questions about just what you do and stuff, I like to ask this question. It's like my favorite question to ask is, how did you get into astrology? Like what brought you here?
It's been an interesting path because I actually really come from the realm of nature spirituality. I am a part of the Ancient Order of Druids in America. I hold the title of Grand Pendragon over there. And was a serious lack of astrological knowledge in the tradition. There were a lot of little things that we didn't quite know what they meant and why it would be this case. We do some planting by the moon, and I started just deep diving in, and then I got into natal astrology and was like, whoa, this is insane. This works so well, and it really connected with me. And I got onto that deep dive really into psychological astrology at first. I work for the Center for Relationships and Astrology with Margaret Gray and her team. And then I met Linda Berry at ISAR in 2022, and we became fast friends. We have some shared backgrounds, and she gave me a vibrational astrology reading at that conference, and I was like, oh. At the core of it, I consider myself a consulting astrologer,
Mhm.
and the layers that VA is able to provide my clients is really powerful. And that is really how I got here today. I'm in my actually 3-year program with Linda at the Stave School, and I'm about to finish up my last trimester to complete the program.
Oh, congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, Linda is great. I love Linda. I had an interview with her also, so that was really nice. And I'm
Yeah.
grateful to get to meet some of her students, which I haven't gotten to do yet. So that's
Yeah.
nice. So I know you're doing a foundational track for a VA. So it is the name of it is the personal. Wait, what is the name of it? I don't remember. I'm sorry. It
Well,
that,
really, what I'm doing is I'm just getting into the basics of the harmonic chart, and my presentation is actually called "Foundations of Vibrational Astrology: The First Four Vibrations." And my kind of philosophy behind this was, what didn't I know that I would have wanted to know coming into VA, coming from psychological astrology? Um, Really, the first big thing is like, what is a harmonic chart? How do you visualize a harmonic chart? How does it actually reflect from the natal? And we're going to be getting into that, how to calculate some of the basic things in a harmonic chart, how to understand what happens to the planets over time. And then we're going to get into the first four vibrations. We're going to be using it as a teaching tool more than anything else. And then just learning those very basics. And we have a whole track for the beginner program.
Mhm.
So as you go through the weekend, as somebody who may not have any VA experience, you're going to pick up the little bits and pieces that are going to get you on track. Whereas if you wanted to study VA at a higher level, you're now going to be able to hit the ground running.
Very good. That's gonna give really you have to get the foundational parts
Yeah.
to it to understand, and then you can go like bigger.
Right.
So that makes perfect sense. And
Yeah.
I've said this before, but I love that you guys decided on a foundational track like that because that's
Yeah.
helped people a lot. Yeah, because it's VA is so different. But even the words that we use are different to modern psychological astrology or Hellenistic astrology either. So yeah.
And we
So
have this powerful evidence-based program here, and it's ready to launch. And one of our goals when we started talking about Fractal Cosmos was the community aspect of it. How do we grow the community? How do we get more people exposed to VA, see what we're doing, and then get on board? Because you might agree with me here, is there's so much room for people to do research in VA still, that if
Yeah.
you're somebody that really wants to get their feet wet in researching astrology, VA is a great option.
Yeah, definitely. I'm one of the board members of Cosmobiology Institute, which is the research institute
Yeah.
that Santino Mancuso is like, it's his baby. But I'm a board member, so yeah, the research, and I do research too, so like I
Yeah.
understand that completely. But
You're
I
very
agree.
good at it.
Thanks, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to actually be sharing some of my research at the conference, so that'll be kind of
Yeah.
fun too. But I think that it's really great that you are giving this idea of the community aspect too, because that is something that is necessary, I think, for on all accounts. Yes, we have like ESAR, we have NCGR, they've been around forever. We have AFA, we have all these other communities, but for the evidence-based approach, it's just different. And so it's nice to have something of our own too. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So I have a couple questions for you. I just thought I would ask. One of
Sure.
the things is, I'm curious, in your experience, how these vibrations, if you can tell us without giving your whole lecture away, if you can tell us what these vibrations and the understanding of them help you and what they make you do in terms of reading the chart compared to not using them. So if you were just using your psychological mind, like what extra thing do they give you?
Well, I think that they are all harmonic charts are a reflection of the natal chart, and the natal chart has so many different multivalent archetypal constructs within them that these things can express themselves in so many ways. Where when we get into the vibrational astrology, where we start seeing where our strongest circuits and isotraps and midpoints are, we can really hone in now and start to see a clearer message that the natal chart is trying to express by digging in to these to these vibrations. I am a very strong 23, and that makes so much sense for my chart. And it answers questions, uh, and really just helps me move forward. And from a client standpoint, especially as I said, more a consulting astrologer than anything else, is it allows me to extend the relationship with my clients because there's so much more meat on the bone to dig into.
Yes, yeah. So it gives you more of a granular perspective. Yeah, I love that. That was amazing way to explain it, because I think that that's the bridge that needs to happen from knowing VA well, because that's a different world, and knowing psychological astrology is the communication between the two. So that was really awesome. So that's great. So your workshop is going to be on the foundational parts of the vibration charts. Are you going to get into things like isotraps and midpoints, or are you just going to kind of stick with the circuits and stuff?
I'm going to get into that a little bit. Dr. Jean Ritchie is going to touch on that at a more deep level than I will. I'm really going to be focusing on how to understand how the charts change through time and how the charts move through the vibrations 1, 2, 3, and 4. One being, very the one, the self, essentially the natal chart. Okay, then we have two, the relationship with the other. The three, our need for smooth interactions. And then four, how we take action in the world at a very core level. And I think just by answering those four questions and just talking about the first four vibrations, you could really learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah, it'll be something people can take with them and start looking up their own charts too right away. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think most programs, at least online, go up to like 12. I don't know, some of them after 12 go a little weird, but like free
Yeah.
programs online too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's great. Yeah, so do you do teaching too? Because you mentioned something about teaching, but you're mostly a consulting
Yeah.
astrologer.
I mean, I've been a teacher in many venues. My certification, my degree is in music education. And I was a music teacher for a while. And then I've been a teacher in nature spirituality. That's been one of my roles within the Ancient Order of Druids in America. And I'm doing some teaching for the Center for Relationships and Astrology with Margaret Gray and her school. So it's like I've kind of been put into that place. throughout my life, and it's a place that I feel comfortable. It's a, I am a 0 degree Leo. I don't mind getting up in front of a group of people and communicating. So but my ascendant 0 degree Scorpio is kind of, I like to get into the depths as well. So it's a good combination. And yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited about expanding VA into a bigger audience and just giving more people the opportunity to get on board. That's really my goal is, hey, some astrology, take this information, move forward with it, and let's have fun.
Do you have a strong 41 vibe by any chance? Because that's always the vibe that's like bridging the two things together. And when I
Yeah.
seem to see it when I talk to people, what vibrations might be high. Of course, I'm not always right, but
Yeah.
it gives me a clue where to look. So usually 41 is that one. But so I'm really interested about Linda and your work with her. Have you done any other work, or is it that you're still just graduating the last little bit? Are you looking forward to doing other types of research projects in the future?
I am actually on her research team, and I've done some follow up on some work that Kennesemi did with vibration, with the 40s vibrations, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
using your methodology. Um,
Yeah.
and it's been really successful, and it's been really interesting. And I think that is really one of the things that people can get out of VA, that, like, we can only get so much out of the Hellenistic astrology unless we know like Latin or Greek or kind of in that crew. With VA, there are so many opportunities to do foundational research, where I've seen people who've been doing research for maybe 2 or 3 years find these groundbreaking discoveries in VA that have really held up. And because it's an evidence-based system, there's really no kind of hierarchical method of accepting the information. If it's correct and it can be verified against the natal charts, then there's your answer. Like, it's a very open field. And I think one of my favorite things about the VA community is their ability to accept people and their ideas and allow people in. There's much less gatekeeping as far as getting into the end of things. And you mentioned, Linda. I'm wrapping up my third year with her. I'm on her research team, but Santino is also very much the same way, as far as like, hey, you're doing research, you're doing good research, let me see it, like, let's get this going. And that's awesome. I find that to be amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the, I agree. I've been in the astrology community for a long time, and I've
Yeah.
felt the same in other groups of people. And maybe it's just because I speak the same language. I don't know, but there's a very welcoming, like, hey, let me teach you if you don't know how. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that. Being a
Yeah.
0 degree Aquarius sun, so that's why I smile at your 0 degree Leo.
Yeah.
And my moon is at 0 Capricorn, so figure that one out. That's kind of funny.
Wow.
So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, so we're both the zeros. I know, and there's another vibrational astrologer that has a couple zeros, like sun and moon too. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so tell me, I'm really curious too. I just want to ask you kind of a personal question, but it is
Sure.
related
Go
to
ahead.
work.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the title Grand Pendragon in the Ancient Order of the Druids. Can you just tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it sounds a lot more important than it really is. It's really just a service position within the community. We started off with, it's been around since about the over 100 years. It's
Oh,
been around for quite a while. It went through a lull in the 60s, and then it was brought back by actually somebody else who's in the astrology community, is named by the name of John Michael Greer. And then in the 90s, I really got involved with like neo-paganism, found Druidry as my home, and then I've been a part of that order now for over 20 years. Started, moving my way through there. I run a few events, some big live events. I run one called MAGUS. I'm a part of one called BAM. And we have a pretty large community. It really kind of grew a lot with the pandemic, where I think people were ready to shed a lot of their old, baggage and kind of do what they wanted to do. So we had a huge influx of people. So really, you ask what I do at the Grand Pendragon. I do a lot of organizational stuff. That's really what I do. I do a lot of layout. I do a lot of outreach. I do a lot of education, just getting people to where they want to be, understanding how to work within the system, and I do have such a very, in my natal chart, I have both Jupiter and Saturn are in Virgo in the 11th house. So
Oh,
I'm very much somebody that has
plan.
that organizational community aspect to my chart, where for me to expand, I need to be in the weeds, cooking the meatballs, really is the best way to put it.
I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense too. The Jupiter and the Saturn, I always say that's planning. You're just planning something big.
I
That's
love
just
it.
yeah, that one, the Jupiter Saturn conjunction happened. It was right at 0 Aquarius.
Yeah,
It was a year or so ago, or a couple years ago, and I was like, oh, that's me.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I actually started teaching VA right after that. I was teaching VA just before it, so it's kind of.
Well, we both have some Pluto stuff going on right now. All right.
We do. Yes, we do. Oh my gosh, yes.
We could probably talk for hours about that alone.
We
I mean, you having the conjunction and me having the opposition. It's very, very interesting to deal with Pluto in these ways. And I think that we're going through a change in society right now due to that Pluto shift. Um,
definitely.
and especially we have the minor grand trine between the outer planets that's happening right now. So I think that this is a great opportunity. Aquarius is the sign of astrology. And this is the timing of this was by chance, but I think it's really a great time to just introduce new community, introduce new thought. And let's be honest. I mean, as far as it being a research-based, evidence-based form of astrology, it does fit really well with that Aquarius shift. What do you think about that?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. You took the
Yeah.
thoughts out of my head on that one, because seriously, it is just the new way of looking at things. We're not stuck in the old paradigm of whatever that was. I don't know what it was for anybody's probably different, but
Yeah.
you're not stuck in the same thing. You're actually, and it's a little uncomfortable. I'll be honest with you. I think
Yeah.
there's a little discomfort because we get comfortable holding onto our path, right? But then we're like, oh
Yeah.
no, and then things shake up, and it's just like you eventually have no choice but to shift. And last year, I actually have a Taurus rising. So Uranus was on my ascendant right during the same. Pluto was on my sun and my midhaven too, because my midhaven's one Aquarius.
What degree is your Taurus?
20 through 58. 20 through
Okay.
58 is ascendant. Yeah.
Oh, that's a fun one. Yeah.
So I was like getting both angles, and then I have a friend who has Neptune on his sun, and we do like podcasts every month for transit. So it was like so funny.
I have Neptune in my moon. I have a Neptune and moon in Sagittarius. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow, you like to travel. You get to have fun.
Yes, I do.
Well, this is great. I just have one more question for you, and
Sure.
we can wrap up. Thank you so much, by the way. So if you were going to say your people that came to your lecture could take one thing home with them, what would you say that they would take home with them? Just one idea that comes to your mind.
A greater knowledge of self and how we operate within the world, because I think that's what we need to know right now. I think we're decoupling from a lot of boundaries right now, and a greater knowledge of self, even at that kind of fundamental level, is going to pay dividends in the future.
Good point. I love that. That was great. Yeah. So thank you so much, of course.
Yeah,
Rob,
thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for watching, and I hope to see you at the Fractal Cosmos conference. If you're looking for any of the links, I'll make sure I put them in the description box. All right.
Great. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for tuning into Cosmic Connections. I hope you enjoyed this conversation from the Fractal Cosmos conference interviews. If you're craving an in-person experience where you can truly connect, explore, and go deep into evidence-based astrology together, join us next spring in Nashville, Tennessee for the Cosmic Discovery Conference, hosted by the Cosmobiology Institute. I'll be there, and so will many of the voices you've heard throughout the series.